go. All right, so what we'll do today in the lab time is really just a quick run through of what you will have to do your homework. So for those of you who want me to kind of do it in Windows, again, I can do that. Or if you don't really you got that part already and you just want me to demonstrate how to do the homework assignment itself, that can be done as well. So do you guys want which way?
Second way.
The second way?
Yeah.
Okay, all right. Okay, so let's go ahead and do the homework assignment. Is here. So in other words, if you follow these steps and you have your virtual machine here, so you can do it in Linux, you can actually get it done today and turn it in today. If you don't have your virtual machine with you here, or you just kind of want to focus on how to do things instead of actually doing it along the way, that's fine too. You can do it, in the lab, in the library, because that's the whole idea of a portable virtual machine is you can plug it into any Windows machine or Linux machine and be able to run it. So what we'll do is to get started with that homework assignment, which is actually not in the topic that we are on today. It is in getting started. And the name of the activity is Your World Rocks. So the instruction is written here. Now for this class, please, pay attention to the instruction, because that pretty much tells you what my script for grading is expecting. Okay, with a class that is big, I'm relying on the script to do some of the work that I have to do for grading. So it's very important that whatever you turn in is compatible with what the script is expecting. So I will just kind of read this through line by line. I know it's kind of be boring. For this assignment, all files must be in a single folder called world. The file containing the source code must be called main.cpp. And you can use the example that I wrote in class, like early in class, and also what I'll be doing here in class as an example. But your program has to print the following. When you see something that is in italic, it means it is a placeholder. In this case, first name is a placeholder of your actual first name. So in my case, if I were to turn in this homework assignment, my program should print tax world rocks. Okay? So I don't want anyone to turn in first name's world rocks the way it is. I've not seen that from last semester, so I'm hoping I won't see it this semester either. And to turn in your homework assignment, you have to run the command called, it's basically the same. Let me highlight just the portion of the command itself. This is the same command that you have to run for the homework assignment that's due on Wednesday. It's really the same command, you just have to run it in a different folder. And then you transfer the tar.gz file onto the Windows side, and then you upload it. Okay? So if you're running a virtual machine, you will have some extra steps to perform. So I'm just going to do the steps that you have to perform on the Linux side. But if you're running Windows, you will have to transfer the file over to Windows first before you upload it. All right. So assuming this is your emulator, okay? Now remember, you can also use PuTTY to open up as many windows as you want to the emulator. I'm just using one at this point. The screen is not, okay, let me see if I can adjust the screen so it looks right. There we go, it's a little bit better. Okay, so the first thing we want to do is to edit the source file of this particular assignment. You can use VI if you want to. You can also use Nano if you want to. Nano is easier to get used to, so for beginners, who are just getting started with Linux, I recommend Nano over VI. If you want to learn something that will be useful if you're in computer science or computer engineering, I think eventually you will probably have to learn VI. So you might spend some time to learn VI, but Nano is easier to work with. Can I do it here? Am I in a subfolder called world? Nope. So I don't want to do it here, because otherwise I won't be meeting all the requirements of the homework assignment. So the first thing you want to do is to create a subfolder in the user account of the virtual machine. If you're using Linux, natively, like Ubuntu or something like that, you can just pick any account other than the root account and do it over there. Is that okay? All right, so make us a folder, and I want the folder to be called what again from the homework assignment? World. Yep. And it has to be all lowercase. So everything is case sensitive. So if I spell world in all lowercase, you have to use world in all lowercase. Press the enter key. It has now created the subfolder called world. Yep.
mkdir, that's the command that creates the folder?
Yes. It's called make dir or make directory. That's why it's mkdir. But yes, that is the command to create a folder. Now, once I have created a folder, I'm not in that folder yet. In other words, when you look at the prompt itself, this is telling me that I'm still in the home directory of this particular account. So I'm not in the right account yet to do my work. To change my directory to world, I use CD, which stands for change directory. So that allows me to go from one directory to another directory. And once I execute this command, you can see that the prompt has now updated. This part of a prompt shows me where I am or what is my current working directory. The concept of a working directory is really for convenience purposes. In other words, if I'm in a particular working directory, if I don't specify a folder or a path to a file, all of those files is supposed to be in the folder that I'm in the current working directory. So right now I'm in the working directory of world. So whatever I do here without any full path specification is going to be here in this particular folder. Are we still doing okay so far with these concepts? Because if you're used to Windows or GUIs, there's no such concept as a current working directory. But when you use CLI command line interface, then you'll start to encounter the concept. So I'm going to use Nano this time. I normally do not use Nano, but I do want to show you what Nano looks like, and it's easier to learn too. So I'm going to create my file, and can I call it world.cpp? What is the homework assignment requiring? That we called main.cpp. Can I make it like main.cpp like this? No, it's not in the right case. So you have to use main.cpp using all lowercase. There we go. And this is Nano. Nano is a text editor. It's not quite as user-friendly as, say, Notepad or any of the GUI programs, but it is still pretty good, especially compared to VI. I'm just moving the bottom up a little bit because otherwise people sitting in the back may have trouble actually seeing the bottom part. Now when you see the bottom row here, these are basically online hint so that you can learn how to use Nano without having to refer to a separate user's manual. The caret symbol here means control. So that means if you press Control G, it will display the help screen. Now in the help screen, if you want to go to the next page, you can type Control V to go to the next page because it is shown right here. Then you press the Control key and then the V to move down one page. And if you want to go back to the previous page, it's Control Y. So that's how you navigate within the help screen. When you're all done with the help and you're ready to continue to editing your file, you can go exit here, which is Control X. There we go. So now we are back to the main screen of the editor. There's nothing really special about Nano. There's no editing mode versus navigation mode. So you can just start typing right away. And in this case, your program has to start with #include and stdio.h. It's basically including what we call a header file. This stuff will be explained a little bit later, but for the time being, this is just the format of your program. And then you can type your program, main, int main, void, open and close parentheses. This is the way I write my program. Is I would close a open curly brace right away, go back, and then insert lines in between. There's a particular reason why I'm doing it this way, and I can explain that in about 15 seconds. This way, I don't have to worry about closing it later on and have unmatched closed curly braces. So if I open and close all the time and then just go back and fill in whatever is supposed to go in between, I don't have to worry about not matching close parentheses or close curly braces and stuff like that. Just over the years, I found that this is a very effective way, so I don't have to deal with unmatched parentheses or braces later on. And this is a really simple program because you just have to say printf, open parentheses, double quote, and then your name. So I'm tags world rocks, and use a \n here. \n represents new line. Without the \n, your program will end without a new line, which means the prompt is going to appear right next to the output of your program. I want your program to end with a new line so that the command prompt will be on the line next to it. Double quote again to close the string, close parenthesis, semicolon. This is the only useful part of this main program. You still want to specify return 0, just for convention purposes. That's your entire program. Are there any questions about the editing part of this particular source code? Yep.
Is Nano something that we have to download, or is it sort of?
It's pre-installed in the virtual machine. VI is also pre-installed. If you want to use VI, that's also pre-installed. All right, so now that we have the source code specified, the next thing to do is to save the file, because right now, it's not saved yet. How do I save a file? I don't see any save here. It's right out, okay? For whatever reason, the author of Nano did not use the conventional words of save. It refers to saving as write out, which is Control-O. So you type Control-O on the keyboard, and it reconfirms the file name that you want to overwrite is main.cpp. Okay, that's exactly what I want. Press the Enter key, and it will tell you that it has saved the file. Once you have saved the file, you can exit from the editor. To get out from the editor is pretty much clear. It is Control-X here. So type Control-X on the keyboard, and that will get you out of the editor and back to the command line interface. Any questions about this step? Okay. How do I know for sure this file is actually created? You can do an ls. It shows the file is created. Now, if you use ls with a -l as an option, it will give you the long format of a file. In other words, in addition to telling you there's a file called main.cpp, it will also tell you it has 85 bytes and also the last time this file was updated. Okay, some extra information may or may not be useful, but you can do it this way. The next step is to compile or translate the file from CPP to an object file. We use G++ for that purpose. Make sure you use -G so that you can, well, -G is not really important in your homework, so if you don't use -G, that would be fine too. -C is important. Then you specify the name of the source file. So this is the translation process. It translates the program from high-level programming language, CPP, C++, into the object code, into basically binary code for the processor. If you don't see any error, great. If you make some common mistakes, you might see some error messages. Now, let me just go back and reintroduce some error messages here, because these are things that people do all the time. I do it all the time, like forgetting the semicolon at the end. Okay, people do that all the time. So if I were to save this file again and exit the editor, this time when I run G++, it's going to complain, right? Because the program did not follow the syntax of C++. But this time, it's fairly clear what it's complaining about, because it is saying expected semicolon before return, and that return statement is on line 6. So when I go back to Nano, I can go to line 6 and say, this is the return statement. It's expecting a semicolon before this, which is actually referring to the end of the previous line. Are there any questions about how to deal with the error messages? Now, if you miss a semicolon, it will give you some longer error messages. Okay, so you can play with this. Okay, in other words, you can get the program to compile, and then you go back and introduce all kinds of errors. You might find it useful. Okay. Wait, hold on a second here, Tag. I got my program to compile already. Why do I want to go back and intentionally make mistakes to break the program? It doesn't make sense to me. Sounds like a waste of time. I hope the rest of this class is not like this.
So you know what the other errors are going to look like.
Because you want to know, because you want a controlled experiment. In other words, you want to artificially introduce an error, knowing what the error is, and then read the output and see how it is going to be reported. Because otherwise, by the time you encounter a syntax error, then you will be scratching your head because you don't know what it means. Some of the error messages can be very cryptic. It doesn't tell you exactly what the problem is. It just tells you there's a problem, and in a very cryptic way. So if I want to kind of mess up this program again intentionally, I can just get rid of the closed curly brace and try to compile this program and see what the compiler is going to complain about. Because this way I'm getting used to the error messages. I'm learning what kind of syntax error will trigger what type of message. So next time when I see an error message that is not intentional, it will be easier for me to fix the program. Okay? Definitely optional. If you want to do this, test out the compiler and you introduce all kinds of errors, that's fine. If you don't, that's fine too. Okay, so I'm just going to fix the program, because it's now working, and I really cannot type this fast. I'm just using the up arrow key to go back to an earlier command as a shortcut. G++-O to specify the executable file name, which is just main here, and then main.o is the object file. So when you're linking, you have to specify the executable's name and also what are the object files that you want to include in the executable. So in this case, it's just main.o. I don't have any other object files. Press the enter key, and it does not give me any error messages. We're good to go. We're good to run the program. /main is going to run the executable. Press the enter key. It just prints tax world rocks, which is what the program is supposed to do. I'm all done with the homework. Well, almost, because I still need to pack it up and send it to Moodle. Are there any questions up to this point? Yep.
Yeah, you said that after you did G++, that you didn't need for this particular assignment to do -G as well.
Yes.
How do you know when you do need?
The -G option is what you need in order to use GDB. And this program is too simple to really need to be debugged. So that's why if you don't specify -G, it's going to be okay because I'm not going to run GDB with it.
Okay.
Now you can include -G. It doesn't interfere with the normal running of the program. That's
Okay.
fine too. But if you forget the -G and you want to use a GDB, then you have to recompile the program. That's all you need to do. Yep. Good question. All right. So the program is officially done, but that's not the end of this homework assignment, because how do you turn your homework assignment in? To turn in the homework assignment, you have to run this rather obscure command, which is something that we have seen last Wednesday. Okay, so I'm going to run this again today, and I'll just kind of go through the explanation again today. Okay, to run the tar file, you have to first make sure that world is your current working directory. If you're somewhere else, it won't work correctly. So you have to make sure that you're in the folder where your main.cpp is. Then you can go ahead and run the command. tar, T-A-R, stands for tape archive. Okay, that's the historical name of a command. And then we use C to specify we are creating an archive. Z to mean we want to use gzip compression. The V part is optional. If you do not have the V part, pretty sure it's the same one, just going in the opposite direction this time. So the V is optional. It means in verbose. It will give you extra messages. F is not. F means whatever is following is the name or the path of the tar file, of the archive file. Okay. The archive file is going to be created in the home directory. So that's why I use a tilde symbol here. a slash, which is a separator from a directory name to the file name itself. And the name of what you need to turn in is, well, can someone name it, read it from the homework assignment.
World done.
And done is in uppercase D.
.tar.gz.
Yep, that's right. So you got to make sure this file is in this exact name, okay, following all the conventions, uppercase, lowercase, and the file extension.
It says word done.
Word.
Yeah, instead of world.
Fine, we'll just use the misspelled. If I specify it wrong, then we'll just keep it wrong. Consistency. All right. The rest of it is a dash, a C, okay? Now dash uppercase C, this is not a lowercase, this is an uppercase C. It means, when the tar command is running, it will pretend that it is starting with the root directory of the entire file system. A single slash in Linux specifies the root directory. This is the beginning, the starting point of everything as far as the file system is concerned. And then we use the backtick symbol. This is not a quote, it is a back quote, which is corresponding to the key right under the escape key. Okay, I think I explained that last time, but it is very important to make sure that you guys know that this is the back quote symbol, not the single quote symbol. PWD, which is actually print working directory, that's the name of the command itself. Another backtick like that. Okay, and then you press the enter key. It will complain about removing leading slash from member names. That's fine. It's not a problem. Okay, this is normal. Now, what I do recommend is to include the V, and you can put the V anywhere before the F and after the C. Okay, and I do recommend running it this way because this confirms what files are included in the archive. Because if you don't specify the V, it will create an archive, but it does not necessarily include the files that you're supposed to include. This is very visual. It tells you exactly what files are being included in the archive file. Are there any questions? Now, the only file I need for grading purposes is main.cpp. The other files, it doesn't really matter. If you want to clean it up first, that's fine. In Linux, how do we remove a file if you want to clean up something? It's RM, okay, for remove. So if I want to clean up, which is optional, definitely not needed, we can say, rm main.o, that will delete the file main.o. If I want to delete multiple files, I can combine it into one single line. So this will remove both the object file, main.o, and also main, which is the executable. But remember, this is optional. If you don't want to do this part, that's fine. You can include additional files, it doesn't bother me. Are there any questions about this step? Okay. All right. So now, if I use a cd ... okay, ... means parent folder. Whatever folder is containing this folder. What is my parent folder? The home folder. Okay, the home folder of user is my parent folder. So if I say change directory to my parent folder, I go back to just the home folder, and this is also where the tar file, the archive is created. Okay, that's a little bit too much stuff, so let me just focus on that one single file. LS can take what we call the wildcard filter, so we can focus on every file that starts with a W, and well, okay, it's showing all the. Okay, there we go. So what this means is I'm listing all the files that start with W. We can have whatever in between, but it has to end with tar.gz. So that's really just a really kind of cool, quick way to narrow down the search to a particular file. Okay, so we do have worddone.tar.gz created. So the next step is to upload it to the Boodle engine. Now that part depends on whether you're doing this inside the virtual machine or whether you're doing it natively in Linux, like what I'm doing here. If you're doing this inside the virtual machine, then you have to copy the file worddone.tar.gz to a machine that has internet access and a browser, and then you can turn in the homework assignment through the Moodle interface once you get to a browser. Are there any questions about this part? Questions? Okay. I can pretend to be a student and just kind of show you the last step. I might have to go through the syllabus acknowledgement again because sometimes it just doesn't let me do it. So I'm switching to a student role. Oh, this time it doesn't. Okay, great. So this is what you will see, as a student. So you just click add submission in Windows, okay, because most of you are using Windows. And here you can just scroll all the way down, click to upload that particular file. Now I have a lot of junk here. You usually don't have as many files. So it's word.done.tar.gz. Make sure you don't upload any other files because it won't count as your homework assignment. Click upload this file. Make sure you click Save Changes because at this point the file is uploaded but it's not registered in Moodle to be a part of your submission. So you got to make sure that you click Save Changes, and now the file is submitted. The confirmation is when you see a link so you can download the file that you have just uploaded, that's confirmation that it has been submitted. And once again, you have an entire week to do this one. And you can resubmit as many times as you want. Okay, like, oh, I think I missed an apostrophe S. Okay, fine, fix it and re-upload it. Okay, now if you're re-uploading it, you have to click Edit Submission, delete the file that you have uploaded, then you can re-upload a new file. Are there any questions about? Yep, go ahead.
In order to submit it, did you have to take the file from the virtual machine and put it back on your computer?
Yes. And you can use WinSCP to do it. Yep.
That was the same question. Like if you use regular Linux, what do you use? Just say Linux.
That is correct. If you're already using Linux, like what I'm doing now, then you don't need to use WinSCP because your browser is running on the same actual environment as the homework assignment itself. But if you're using a virtual machine, then you have to do the extra step. Now, some people may not like WinSCP. The user interface just does not appeal to you or whatever. If you want to use alternatives, there's one program called FileZilla, and it will do the same thing. So if you want alternatives, you can use FileZilla, you can use WinSCP, and I'm pretty sure there are more alternatives than these two. Right. Are there any questions about how to do this particular homework assignment? No other questions? All right. So you guys know what to type in your program. I'm going to upload the video, so you can just kind of stop the screen once I'm done typing, and just copy the whole program. Yeah. Other than not including text, right? You have to substitute with your own first name. Any other questions related to homework assignments or how to use Linux? Yep.
I got a like tar cowardly refusing to create an empty directory error. I kind of used a different command because I kept getting the error when I was using that. You know why it would give me that?
It depends on how you specify your tar command.
I thought I was just using the one that you had up
Okay,
there.
well, let's take a look at that one. Okay, let's debug that.
Okay.
So we go to world, okay? So let's go back to the tar command and see what happens when you specify something that, okay, I'm not gonna overwrite the file that I've created, so I'm just gonna say, just done.tar.gz, okay? So if you specify a -c here, lowercase instead of uppercase, okay, let's see what happens with a lowercase c. Oh, okay, I don't want that. Because it's just trying to tar up the entire system.
Is that
Okay, let's try this. Okay, instead of using back quote, I'm using single quote because I'm trying to reproduce the problem that you're encountering. Is that what you're getting?
it said tar cowardly refusing to create empty directory.
An empty directory. Okay, maybe
I
you
think I
missed
might
this
have
part
forgotten the
entirely.
space before the backtick though.
Like this one?
Um,
Cowardly refusing to
Exactly.
create an empty archive.
Yeah,
This
exactly.
happens when I missed this last part entirely. So you have to specify you're creating an archive from where. So that's why, if you miss that, then it will say, I don't know what, I know where you want to create the archive, but I don't know what it is. I don't know, okay, it's an archive of what that you did not specify.
Gotcha.
Yep. Okay.
Thanks.
Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Go ahead.
Can you show me how we can connect to Wi-Fi in Unix? Because
Yes.
more-
Okay. Connecting to Wi-Fi when you're on campus. Okay. Now this one, I'm not sure whether it will work or not because it depends on whether the Wi-Fi dongle is going to work with this computer. So we'll give it a try and see if it recognizes. Okay, so the Wi-Fi is recognized. No wireless network. Let me just hold on 1 second. Let me find out what is the name of the interface. It's WLAN 0. Oh. Let's try that. Okay, so I'm assuming you got to this point.
Yes.
Okay. So once you get to this point, it's LRCCD. The problem is if you just click the automatic connection method, it's not going to do it because the default of connecting to LRCCD doesn't work. So what you need to do is to manually create the connection. So let me see how I can do this here.
New one.
Yeah, it doesn't give me an option to specify the details. It's trying to connect. It's not going to get an IP address because the authentication part is not going to be done right. I can click properties. There we go. Okay, so this is the part that is important. So when you specify the WPA, it's going to be WPA, I think it's PEAP, WPA2 PEAP, or otherwise known as WPA Enterprise. And Ubuntu may have a slightly different way of referring to it, depends on the. Actually, I take it back. It has PEAP with TKIP/MS chap v2. That's what we need. And let me see if that works for me here. There's no path to CA cert. Okay, when they ask you for a certificate, just say ignore. Okay, there's no certificate to specify. So we'll go ahead and try. Okay. Connect. And I can help you separately too. Okay, so let me see if there are any other questions.
I'm gonna try it on Crunchbang, but
Oh, okay.
it's basically Debian. But
It depends on which applet you use to connect because they give you different options. I know the default method is not going to work.
yeah.
Any other questions other than connecting to the Wi-Fi? No other questions? Is it? Oh, not connected. It's one of these things, that's wrong,
Maybe the WPA is in.
Sorry?
I think it's not.
I've run through this problem before. If you connect through guest, if you select guest, it would prompt you to a web page where you can actually download. They have this driver for the school Wi-Fi. If it doesn't work for you, then they have this long list of how to create it manually. They have everything. Like I think there is a certificate that you have to enter. They have it in that web page.
Okay.
I'm not sure if that works for Linux, but I tried it in my Windows laptop and it did.
Oh, okay. Yeah. I think I know how to get it working with the other
Windows.
applet to get it hooked up. Yep. Any other questions? Okay. If there are no other questions, I'm gonna stop the recorder, and that's the end of today's lab session. So after this, I can help out people to hook up to the internet individually, and then if people have other questions about how to use the virtual machine, I can answer those questions too. Recorder.